Hello my friends, my name is Dragonheart, the Prince of Wales, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we are looking at my Vampire Coint Army. It's my 2,000 point army that I am taking to the Welsh Open tournament that has been held in Cardiff in Firestorm Games on the 25th and 26th of October. So this is my second ever Warhammer tournament after going to my first one earlier this year when I went to the Old World tournament that was in Nottingham. That was the Square-based podcast tournament. But this is my second tournament, and I'm really looking forward to it. I took Tomb Kings last time, but I'm taking Vampire Counts this time. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you my paint jobs. I'm going to tell you about each unit. I'm going to talk about how many points they are, what equipment they have, and go from there. And if you enjoy this video, then obviously drop a like and do all the YouTube crap that, you know, the people tend to do. Anyway, enough waffling, let's just get on with it. So, Vampire Counts, 2,000 points. My first unit that I'm going to show you is my General, which is a Strigoi Ghoul King. He is a level 1 wizard. He has the Giant's Blade, which means that he gets multiple wounds 2. I believe he gets Armor Bane 2 as well with that. And I think his strength goes up by 1, so his strength will go from 5 to 6 when he's using that weapon. So I've gone with that, which I think will be quite useful. He has, I think it's like 5 attacks as well, so he'd be quite potent in combat. He has 3 wounds. He doesn't have armor, so I've given him a Talisman of Protection, which gives him a 5-up ward save. So he's 5-up ward save, 5-up regen. So he's 5-up on the old saves. I've also given him 2 items. One of them is Beguile, which means that when he's in combat, if somebody wants to hit him, they have to do a leadership check first. And if they fail the leadership check, then they can only hit him on a roll of a 6, which is really, really useful. I used it against my friend Paul last week against his Chaos Lord, and his Chaos Lord just didn't hit him in combat for a turn. So it's really, really useful. It means that it gives me a bit of an edge in combat against him, which is quite handy. And I've also given him the Dark Acolyte vampiric ability, which turns him into a level 1 wizard, so he gets a spell with that. But because he's level 1 wizard, the purpose of it is that he gets the Invocation of Nahek special rule, which means that he can raise the dead, which is really, really useful in an army where you're trying to point preserve as much as you can. So that's him. And because I picked him basically for the reason of, I think with the new edition of the game, infantry combat stuff tends to be a bit more focused on monsters at the moment. By picking him, I can put him with the Graveguard. I can raise the dead with them. So if I lose Graveguard, I can bring him back with him. It means that coming up against my Graveguard will be challenging for a lot of people, hopefully. But by doing that as well, it allows me to put a Terrorgeist in special rather than a rare choice. We'll get to that in a moment. So that's my General. I painted him, as you can see, I've painted him red. I don't know if you can see the lighting and stuff by here. I painted him red. And yes, I'm just looking forward to using him. You'll see next time as well, I should have probably mentioned this, there's going to be scenarios and stuff in this tournament. So by here I have a baggage train, which you'll see I've got a black and a red flag either side. I've got a skull and crossbones on the one. I've got a little black bat, which you won't be able to see because the camera and the lighting isn't the best. I'm going to tilt the camera up slightly, see if that helps. But I've got gold and red wheels basically, and on the back you'll see that I've gone for some evil pumpkins. So that's my baggage train, which I've whipped up quickly because you have to build your own for this tournament. My baggage train is just going to be at the back of my lines. I try and protect it, try and take my opponents. I think it's worth like 250 points if you destroy your opponent, so they are quite valuable. And I've gone for the leaves as well on the grass, just to keep it on point with the rest of my vampire army. So that's just something I wanted to mention briefly. I'm going to stay on characters though. I'm going to go to my Master Necromancer next, which is right by here. So here he is in all of his mighty glory. He's a big green, if I get my hand out of the way, you'll probably get better lighting. It's because of where the natural lighting is at the moment. I'm really pleased with the flames. I think that's my favourite part of this, because I'm not very good at painting in general. I feel like it's something that I have to put a lot of time and effort into to get anywhere half decent. But I've used different yellows and reds and little bits of blacks and oranges and stuff, and I've made the flames look really, really cool on the skeletons. I've had to sort of kit bash this slightly as well, because I bought parts of this model off a set of somebody off Vinted, and half the stuff was missing. So I had to like buy separate parts to make it a complete set. I had to kit bash one of the flaming skulls and convert it to make it all normal. You'll notice that the necromancer on this painted like the Joker. I like putting themes, like different themes of different like pop culture things in my armies. I have a lot of Star Wars references in my Orcs and Goblins, for example. So got the Joker in the Vampire Army. He's wearing his green, he's got his green hair, he's got a bloody mouth, he's got white, if I can just sort of zoom in by here, it's such a big model, it's hard to move. He's got white, here we go, sort of go by here. I'll try and zoom in for you, if I go on to maybe a 1. There we go. He's got a white face. Yeah, he looks menacing, doesn't he? He looks really, really mean. So who is he and what is he and what is the purpose of the Mortis Engine? Well, the Mortis Engine is 385 points. He's got a Lore Familiar, which means he can pick the spells that he wants to select, which I know what I'm picking anyway. Lore of Necromancy, and unfortunately because of the points, because of the limitations of the points you have, I went with the Talisman of Protection on the General rather than him, so he doesn't have a ward save. He does have a 4-up armor save with a Mortis Engine. He does have a 5-up regen save, so he's 4-up, 5-up, and my General is 5-up, 5-up, so should hopefully do the job and do quite well. But that's my Mortis Engine. He's there to do spells, board control, try and hurt the enemy, try and lower the leadership. That's the whole point of him. Next up, we have the Whitest Lord going, the White Lord. Hopefully my camera focuses. There we go, it's focused. This is my White Lord. We're getting somewhere now. He's actually a Etsy model, so most of my miniatures in his army are Age of Sigmar, apart from this model, who's an Etsy model, and the Joker that you just saw, he's an Etsy 3D printed model as well, but the actual Mortis Engine is Games Workshop, and pretty much everything else is an Age of Sigmar. But this is my White Lord. He's 67 points in total. I've painted him up, so he's got a red and black BSB big flag, basically, and he's got... I've had to glue his arm back on today because that came off. This is the problem with resin printed models. They do tend to break easily, and his arm broke, so I've had to glue that back. But yeah, he's my BSB. He has heavy armor and a shield, and because he's a White Lord and he's been given a BSB, he has a special ability called the White Banner, and that means that I can reroll leadership rolls within his command range as normal, but I also can deduct a percentage of wounds off of my crumbling. So say I've lost combat by 4. If that unit is within range of his banner, I can basically roll a d3, and I get a 1, 2, or a 3 basically off the total. So I don't lose by 4. I don't crumble by 4. I might crumble by 1. So I'm only going to take 1 regen save then, which it means that I might be able to stay in combat a bit longer with some of my troops. So it's quite handy to have. So that's what he's there. And obviously the rerolls of leadership as well is handy when I'm trying to raise the dead, because I could do a leadership check on my own unit, fail my leadership, but I'm close to him, I use his banner, I reroll. So that's my White Lord, which is really, really handy. So we're going to core units. So I'm not going to go through every single model individually. I'll show you my banner first of all. This is kind of a weird one, but this is the standard bearer. It's absolutely, there we go. It's got a skull on there, and it's got some words that says Hellspawn, it says. It's just some transfers and the red like vampiric thing on there. Yeah, so this is my Graveguard unit basically. So that's him, and then I've got my, let's get to the champion. You can see the champion. He's painted a bit differently. He's got gold on him as well. This is my Graveguard champion when it decides to focus. There we go. So they are, it's a unit of 25. It's 25 Graveguard, 333 points. They have Hellish Vigor, the banner of Hellish Vigor, which allows them a reserve move. So they only move 4 inches, 5 inches if they're within range of the Mortis Engine, because that's got a special ability which gives all units with the Necromantic Undead special rule a +1 to their movement. So they would move 5 inches if they're within range of that. So with the Hellish Vigor, they get a second movement in the like a reserve movement at the end of the shooting phase, which means that they could go potentially 10 inches rather than 5, or 8 inches rather than 4. So it makes them quite a fast skeleton unit. Heavy armor and shields, they've got a pretty good armor save. They've all got 6-up regen saves as well. So nasty. I'm looking forward to using these. These were very good in my battle against Paul last week, and hopefully they will do well for me in this tournament. Continuing on, oh, by the way, with the Graveguard, the reason I can take them in core is because I do have this White Lord. So this White Lord allows Graveguard to be taken as core. Like I mentioned earlier, the Ghoul King allows me to take the Terrorgeist as a special. So these are the things you've got to think of when you're composing your army. Next up we have Skeleton Warriors. So I got 21 Skeleton Warriors in total. This is the champion. The champion. When he decides to load. Loading in now. There we go. I don't know why I said load. He looks very, very dark there. It's because of the lighting. I'll just sort of tilt him a little bit. There we go. You can see him a bit better with this. So I have 21 Skeleton Warriors. They have full command. They are 145 points. And I've given them a war banner just so when they're in combat, they get +1. Because if you're holding objectives, quite often you're going to be having battles around these objectives. And these are not as good as Graveguard, but I think the Graveguard are fine on their own. So I think these, obviously being slightly weaker than Graveguard, are going to need the extra support. So an extra +1 to combat res is going to be useful. The White Lord's going to be with them as well, so that's also going to be quite handy. And if this unit is quite close to one of my wizards, I can try and bring some of these back as well. But that's what one of them looks like. But I'll show you the standard bearer as well. Oh, as I just dropped him. There he is, with the big red flag. The reason why I've gone for the big red flag model is loading in now. It's like old PlayStation 1 games when you just staring at the screen forever and just have a loading bar going across. He will load in a second. He will refocus. Come on. There we go. So you can see he's got a red flag there. The reason why he's got a big red flag is I'm from an area of Wales called Merthyr, and there was this thing that happened called the Merthyr Rising, which is, if you've heard of Dick Penderyn, basically he was somebody that got killed innocently. He shouldn't have been killed, but he got arrested and hanged for a crime he didn't commit. And basically people of Merthyr rose up and fought against the authorities because of this injustice. And there's this thing then that happened that was called the Merthyr Rising. And apparently the Merthyr Rising, this conflict between local people of Merthyr and the police and the authorities, red banners, red flags was used for the first time in history. And this is where you often see red flags used in revolutions. So it actually started in Merthyr, of all places. So I just like the idea of having like rebellious skeletons with big red flags. So that's why I've gone with this. The BSB's got a red and black flag that I showed you earlier, which is by here. I wanted to keep it also on point of my colour scheme because you can see most of my models are red and black. It's very much a vampiric colour scheme anyway, so I just want to be thematic with that. I'm not going to dwell too much on this next unit. It's 73 points worth of zombies, which you can see this. They're not too bad. When they cluster together like this, they look pretty okay. They were actually more enjoyable to paint than I thought they would be. I felt quite daunted at first to try and paint these up. You'll see I've got a lot of graves and stuff like that. So base level, there's 21 zombies at 73 points. Yeah, they're just zombies. They don't do much. They have terrible leadership. You might be lucky and get a couple of kills, but they're there to cause a nuisance for other armies. They're there to stop charges. They have a special rule called the newly dead, which means you can raise them beyond their starting strength. So mine start off at 21, but I can get up to a maximum of 40. So that's why I've got a bunch of these things behind, and I got some other spare graves in my box as well. And it's just be a big block and just be like, come at me, bro, you can't charge me. And I can stick like my Mortis engine behind it, so they can't get a direct charge on my Mortis engine, but my Mortis engine could perhaps be in range to scream at somebody from here. And it's like, well, if you want to attack me, you're going to have to take on zombies, which is not nice. You probably win against zombies, but they can basically suppress a high value unit, and that's kind of what you use them for. But yeah, I think the paint job on the zombies, it's not too bad, is it? I've used army painted paints for all of the stuff. I've used like blood effects, on like the brains and the bloods running down the arms and the hands on this one, look, and stuff like that. If I just look at it now, I quite appreciate what I've done. I'm quite happy with it. Sometimes I don't probably give myself enough credit when it comes to my painting. I feel like it's my weakest part of the hobby is my painting, but I think it's probably got a little bit better over time. But that's the zombies, 21 of them. And like I said, they're there to frustrate. They're part of my core. And then finishing off my core, over this side by here, we have some direwolves. So this is my Doomwolf, except that I haven't taken a champion, so I don't actually have a Doomwolf in this army. But this is a Howling Wolf on a rock by here, so he would be the champion if I did have a champion. But I just got 5 of these, and they're there to basically redirect charges. So there's 5 of them. I think there's only worth like 6. No, it's worth 40 points in total. 40 points for 5 direwolves. And if I'm up against an army of, say, the same against orcs and goblins, orcs are usually quite impetuous. I could just stick this in front of a unit of orcs and be like, you have to do an impetuous check, and if you fail it, you have to charge me. And it's quite funny because I could pull a unit out of position and then like try and scream at it or charge it with something else. So they're there to frustrate. They're there to sort of they're there to be thrown away. I'm not expecting to keep my direwolves alive in any of the battles I participate in this weekend. But like I said, they're there just to frustrate the opponents and do a lot of damage to them, hopefully. So that is that. So next up, we're on to special now. So I've got one special unit which I alluded to earlier, and that's my Terrorgeist, which is worth 205 points. If I fly him onto the screen right now. There we go. I need to name my Terrorgeist. I haven't given him a name yet. So this is the paint job on him. You'll see I've got lots of leaves. I'm a big fan of a band called Red. And their artwork for an album called Of Beauty and Rage is absolutely beautiful. It's a plague doctor walking through a forest at night time, and the forest is full of like orange leaves. I just think it looks really, really cool and beautiful. So that's why I went for like a lot of the leaves. Also, it's like the Sleepy Hollow films. You see a lot of like autumn leaves and stuff on like the roadside and things. So that's kind of what I've gone for. But Terrorgeist is a very interesting unit. It can fly. We can fly 9 inches, or you can march and fly 18 inches. But if you do march, you can't use the Wailing Dirge attack. So the Wailing Dirge attack is basically you scream at an opponent. So say I'm within 8 inches of the Mortis engine by here. The Terrorgeist would scream at it. The Mortis engine would take a leadership check. But it's at -2 to its leadership. So if a Mortis engine's leadership is 8, it would be taking leadership check on a 6. And say you roll 9 on the dice. It fails by 3. It can't take an armor save. It can't take a regen, but it can take a ward. Unfortunately, he doesn't have a ward save, so he would just take 3 wounds automatically, like that. So it could kill high-level targets quite quickly, providing they fail their checks. Obviously, up against stuff like dwarves, up against like chaos, things that may have good leadership, might be a challenge. But it's basically using like the magic from the Mortis engine, and then the actual screams from this and the Mortis engine to try and lower the leadership of my opponent, try and do damage and try and kill them in a quick succession. But it's also pretty good in combat. It has light armor, so it's got a 6-up armor save and a 5-up regen save. It has 4 attacks, and it's called Filth Encrusted Talons. And then it's also got another one then, which is like a Gnashing Maw. So what that means is that the one is like, I think one is -2 AP, the one's -2 AP, and I think the other one is -1 AP, or something like that. And they are poisoned attacks. All of them are poisoned attacks, which is good because it means I'll hit. If I roll 6s, I'll be hitting on much higher or much lower rolls, which would be better for me. It also has a D6 stomp attack as well. It also causes terror, which is very, very handy as well. It's a large target. It's a behemoth. So if you do my stomps on smaller units, then that's, I think that's -2 AP to them as well. And you can see I've done a pretty decent job on painting this as well. I've gone for like lots of bone colours on like the spine and parts of the wing. I've gone for blacks. I've gone for reds. I've used bone colour on like parts of the mouth and the claws. And then the wingspan then, you see it's like greys and reds. I've gone for just lots of greys and reds. And I basically try to just blend them in as much as I can, because I wanted something that looked a lot different to the dragon. I got a zombie dragon as well, which was it's like a save I made from Vinted. I basically rehomed it, but it had a lot of work that had been done to that. But I quite liked half of the paint job that had been done on that, so I just finished off the paint job on that one. It was quite good. But this one I've painted completely differently, and this is actually a proper Terrorgeist model. I'm not using a zombie dragon for a Terrorgeist. I did play somebody a few weeks ago, and they basically like, oh, I've wounded your dragon, and I was like, hey, it's a Terrorgeist, you racist. So I do make that joke sometimes. Terrorgeist is like a bat, like an undead bat that looks like a dragon. So yeah, not to be confused with a dragon, but it's a very strong, potent unit. It costs 205 points. I kind of regret not taking 2 of them. I think I should have probably taken 2 of these in my army and drop points elsewhere maybe, but time will tell. But that's that. That's hopefully going to do me wonders this weekend. And then finally, you see some of these already on the table. I'm going to have to be careful how I do this because these are absolutely soaked in PVA glue at the moment, and the reason for that is that I've only just been doing the bases on them, so you can see they're quite wet still and they've got bits of glue like hanging off the sides. That's because I've been gluing the leaves. But these are my Blood Knights, so this is my standard bearer for my Blood Knight. I need to like do some work on the moon. I was going to paint the moon like yellow and stuff, so I haven't finished the banner off just yet, but I quite like it with black and red like that. It looks a little bit Targaryen looking, if I may say so. But yeah, this is the standard bearer for them. I do have a champion, which is actually an Age of Sigmar model. Well, they're all Age of Sigmar models, but this is a Vampire Lord that got released a few months ago for Age of Sigmar. And you'll see it's got like the hooves on 2 rocky bases. It's supposed to go, one part of it goes one way, one part of it goes the other way. It's supposed to be a big round base. But I didn't want to do that, so I've cut it back, trimmed it a bit so it would fit on a square base. Got some leaves on the front by here, look. And then if I can just zoom in, hopefully this will allow it to appear on... There we go, there he is. This is my I'm basically using him as a champion. So he's not a Vampire Lord, but he's the champion of my unit. So yeah, 8 Blood Knights. They are 447 points, which is absolutely insane. Very, very strong. Let's show you some other ones as well while we're doing this. Let's show you the one with the spear over here. This one with the lance. With the lance, there we go. The one with the lance by here. He's got a bit of gold on him as well. Yeah, so they are 447 points. They are drilled. They have full plate armor, shields, and barred in, which means that when I'm not using my lances and I'm using hand weapon and shields, I am getting a 2-up armor save. So 2-up armor save, and I've given them the Drakenhof banner, which improves their regen save by +1. So that their usual 6-up regen save now goes to a 5-up. So they are 3-up armor and 5-up regen on the charge, and they are 2-up armor and 5-up regen when they're in regular combat. They are very sturdy and hard to get rid of. I'm hopefully going to make a lot of those 2-up armor saves and just be fine. That is the plan. They have a special ability called Cursed Weapons, which I believe gives them +1 weapon skill as well. So they are a nasty, nasty unit to have. And I have 8 of them, which means that they are going to be difficult to move. And most people tend to take 5 or 6, but I'm a crazy madman and I've gone with 6 instead, with 8 instead. But the other reason as well is that, say now I've got a block, if I show you I've been painting the edges of this. I have to number these so I can see which one goes where because they don't fit onto the base properly. But I'm going with 4 and 4 as a base. But let's say now they win. I lose combat and 4 of these at the back go, and I've only got the front rank left. The way it works with Invocation of Nehek with the wizards, with heavy cavalry, it's wizard level. So if my level 4 wizard is in range, he can try and raise the dead. I can bring 4 of them back straight away. If it's my level 1, only 1 comes back, but even 1 coming back with a 2-up armor save and a 5-up regen, one of them is potent enough. So my aim is to try and points preserve as much as I can. At nearly a quarter of my army's points are on this one unit. So with that, the Terrorgeist, the Mortis Engine, and the General, and then the Graveguard as well, I've got 5 very, very strong units, and then I've got useful units then, like the White Lord as well. It's just going to be a case of how I'm going to use them on the battlefield, and obviously who I'm against and stuff like that. I've just seen the draw for my first battle, and I'm actually against vampire counts. And the guy I'm against has 5 screams, so I'm at a massive disadvantage because obviously vampires have lower leadership. So for example, if you scream at the zombies, they're only minus. They only have 2 base leadership anyway. So any scream at them, I'm losing dudes unless I make good regen saves. So yeah, I could potentially be screamed at with zombies, roll double 6 and lose 12 zombies. So yeah, not ideal for a first battle, but it should hopefully be fun and enjoyable and stuff. But that is my list. Hopefully the tournament goes well. I might do a follow-up video after the tournament. Maybe I'll take a few photos and stuff while I'm there. I can give you a quick recap then of all the battles. But hopefully it goes well, and we'll go from there. Anyway, guys, I've been Dragonheart. Thank you for watching. Until next time, goodbye.